Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chelsea Liston, and I'm the Membership Development Manager at MHI, the nation's largest material handling, logistics, and supply chain association. Today, we're going to talk through a case study of a retailer, Stadium Goods, with very complex inventory challenges. We're going to discuss how Stadium Goods and their 3PL partner, Barrett Distribution, manages this complex inventory to ensure accurate and on-time delivery and ultimately happy customers. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit any questions you have through that Q&A button on your screen. We'll answer some of these questions throughout the webinar and also hold some time at the end. This is going to be a very exciting and insightful conversation. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Judy Gordon, the VP of Marketing at Gather AI.
Thanks, Chelsea. And thank you, MHI, for having us. As Chelsea said, I'm Judy Gordon. I'm the VP of Marketing at Gather AI. With our fleet of autonomous drones, the Gather AI solution gives our customers visibility into their inventory. And as Chelsea said, today we're going to talk about a case study, an inventory case study with Stadium Goods and Barrett and their 3PL, Barrett Distribution. So let's start with introductions. First, Steve.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Schweighofer. I'm the VP of Operations at Stadium Goods, overseeing the supply chain areas of the business. Stadium Goods is a marketplace focused on sneakers and streetwear items. We specialize in unworn and collectible items, but also sell game-worn sneakers. We have a retail store in New York, but predominantly sell online and ship from our warehouses in the US and Europe. That's us.
Thanks. Alex?
Hey, everybody. My name is Alex Glanzer, and I'm an operations manager here at Barrett Distribution. We're located in Hillsborough, New Jersey. So Barrett Distribution is a third-party logistics company, and we have over 25 locations now throughout the country, and we focus on customer specialization, distribution, warehousing needs for the apparel, cosmetics, food, automotive, and medical industries. So thanks, everybody, for taking the time to listen, and I'll pass it on over to Jesus.
Jesus.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Jesus Barrientos. I'm the ICK manager at the Mid-Atlantic region. I work at Barrett Distribution.
Great, fantastic. Okay, let's get started. So, Steve, can you talk us through your business and your challenges with distribution and fulfillment, and specifically inventory?
Yeah. So Stadium Goods has an interesting business model. So most of our inventory is being consigned with us. So, we can actually have 50 units or more of the same SKU of an item that can be owned by, all 50 units can be owned by 50 different consigners, and each one can have a different selling price. So we manage that by giving each item a unique serial number. So when we sell an item and we send the orders to our third-party warehouse, they need to pick the specific serial number that was sold, and ship it to the customer. And considering we have over 500,000 units in our main warehouse, inventory needs to be incredibly accurate for them to quickly find the item and ship it. So I've been with Barrett now for about 2 years. And when I was looking for a new third-party warehouse, I needed a partner that had a proven track record of shipping fast and accurately managing inventory. But they also needed to be technologically advanced and share my vision to continuously improve the business. Barrett stood out against all the third-party warehouses that we were looking at, and they've been an amazing partner.
Fantastic. So you talked about how you have 500,000 SKUs. We were talking about this a little bit before the webinar started. Can you tell the audience what happens? So it's 500,000 individual pairs of shoes, basically. Tell us what happens if you can't. Tell us what they're worth and what happens if you can't.
Sure. I mean, so a lot of our sneakers are very desirable, and it's consignment. So the marketplace sort of sets the price of the sneakers. So they can greatly range from, let's say, $50 or so to over $15,000 for a single pair of sneakers, right? Depending what it is. So yeah, and our average selling price is about $225. And the problem that we have is, if we lose our inventory, it's consigned with us, so we're accountable, and we have to pay out our consigners if we can't find it. And then if it's found later, then we own it because we already paid them out.
Yeah. So, Alex and Jesus, so this is quite a complex challenge. Can you talk us through, like, how do you think about, how do you help Stadium Goods manage their inventory?
Well, so when we were first onboarding Stadium Goods, it was obviously a unique customer even for Barrett, and we have a ton of different customers with different needs. So one thing that we've worked on, and Jesus and I have worked on over the past couple of years, is switching our inventory counts to transactional based, where we're checking, we'll check today for everything we did yesterday. So that helps tremendously with finding any errors and correcting them in almost real time, versus, more, I think just older ways of counting inventory was you'd count every location twice a year, 4 times a year, whatever the customer wanted. And a lot of that inventory it just sits there all year round. So we're kind of looking at what's actually moving throughout the warehouse and is getting touched. And if we find any discrepancies, we are typically able to correct them same day. So, Jesus could probably speak a little bit more too about the Gather. Gather drones have helped tremendously as well. He was really the brains behind the operation of getting that implemented here at Barrett.
Thank you, Alex. Yes, as Alex mentioned, we pretty much transition all the accounts that we're doing for the Stadium Goods account into transactional, right? With this, we were going essentially to the location that was touched the day before, via picking, replenishment, put away, any type of activity that happened to the location. We were counting it the day after, right? And yes, with the implementation with Gather AI, because all the changes we're able to make with them as well, we're able to count a lot of the sneakers, a lot of locations currently. It pretty much boosts our LP accuracy from the minimum, which is 98.5, to currently a 99.99.
Yeah, and I can kind of speak to just the gains we've made even this year, and we've had the drones going for I don't know probably about 2 years here in this facility.
Yeah.
But we had to kind of specialize them with Gather to be able to work with Steve and Stadium Goods. And we've been hitting 99.99% LP accuracy most months, and I think we're actually at 100% right now for September. So that's great, and it's it's good for business, good for Steve as well, just to make sure that we're keeping track of everything and shipping out all orders correctly. So it's definitely been a huge help.
Wow, that's great. During this past earnings season, a lot of retailers talked about shrink. It was basically all over the news, inventory shrink. And I know some of that's in stores, but some of that's in the warehouse too, or in distribution. So Steve, what kind of impact has this had on your business to have, like Alex said, 100% inventory accuracy?
Yeah, like I explained before, the if inventory can't be found, we got to pay our consigners out. So it is a huge priority for us to actually keep the inventory as accurate as possible. And with Barrett being able to do the continuous cycle counts with the drones, it's been a huge benefit for us, right? Because if something does, on a rare occasion get misplaced, it's quickly found, and it's really not an issue.
And what was it like before? Can you speak to what was it like before you moved to Barrett? What your
Yeah,
accuracy?
before we moved to Barrett, we were doing annual physical inventories with our third-party warehouse, and we needed to shut down the business for about a week each year to do those inventories. The cost was it was expensive. It was about $250,000 per year for us in labor and equipment. And the Gather AI solution has now permit us to do these continuous cycle counts. We don't need to shut down our business to do them, which is also another huge benefit. And our inventory now is really spot on. So it's really helped us grow our business.
I know you guys have other things you've put in place besides kind of the counting. Do you want to talk a little bit through that? When, the shoes arrive, you're doing other things to sort of decrease shrink and improve accuracy, I believe, right? The way you wrap the shoes, etc.
Yeah, so, I mean, so like I explained before, our sneakers greatly range in value. We have sneakers that are, $50. We have sneakers that are $15,000 or more, right? So what we do is we bag the items upon intake, right? And then we put a license plate number on the outside of the bag, so that anybody in the warehouse, they don't know what's in that bag. They don't know if it's the $50 sneaker or the $15,000 sneaker or the size 6 sneaker or the size 14 sneaker. They're blind to that. So that has greatly helped. And we put Stadium Goods branding on those bags so that they don't get removed when they go out, and it's a good customer experience when they actually when the customer gets the item from us and it's in that Stadium Goods branded bag.
So each shoe has its own label. And then I know Alex or Jesus, do you want to talk about how they're put away on the pallet and then how you do inventory?
Yeah, so I mean, so the way it works is we pretty much get consistent deliveries to our warehouse, and we actually have a crew of Stadium Goods folks that work on site. So they handle all their returns, and then they do the authentication process. So a shoe comes in, it goes over to Steve's folks that work here alongside us at Barrett. They authenticate it. They put an authentication tag on it, and then they pass that over to Barrett. Barrett then polybags that, right, to conceal the identity, size, value of that sneaker. We serialize it, we palletize it, and then those all get stored in our rack. So we have narrow aisle racking. We have 14 levels per aisle, and we have, like Steve mentioned earlier, we have about 500,000 units here, give or take, at any time. So it spans over 32 aisles right now in our warehouse, and I'm assuming that will probably grow in the future at some point. So yeah, it's actually pretty, at this point, it's a pretty simple receiving process, but it requires a high level of monitoring, and working so closely with Steve, and we have 20 or 25 folks from Stadium Goods that actually work here in the warehouse with us. We've have developed a really great working relationship, and Steve really stressed the importance of inventory accuracy with us when we first onboarded him. So that's always been a goal of mine and a goal of Jesus, is to make sure that we keep that inventory accuracy as close to 100% as we can. And just like with the value of some of the product, it really does require a high level of attention to inventory accuracy, and the drones have helped us, I mean, tremendously, just with the number of counts that we're able to do, in correlation with our regular standard, cycle counting with a actual human being. And just one other thing to touch on is that Steve mentioned, we're not doing a physical inventory. I've seen a lot of customers trending away from that, just because it's such a high cost. And we actually don't even do, for the clients that I have in my facility now, we're not even doing any physical inventories for any of them. So we do this similar program to what we're using for Stadium Goods with all the other clients, and none of them have been requiring that, which is, I think it's good for us, and it's good for the clients as well. So
so we've talked a lot about sort of the benefits of using the drones in terms of inventory accuracy. Can you talk to more other benefits you've seen, Alex and Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I don't know if you want to talk about maybe just some of the training and stuff that the inventory folks have gotten to go through, and learning, just learning the technology. And
yeah, I mean, myself being in multiple buildings, like I mentioned before, it's a bit harder for me as well as to manage all the associates that I have. But with the drone, it's actually simpler. I do have an inventory lead dedicated to review pretty much all the missions, all the exceptions we found while flying the drone, right? So he's in charge of reviewing pretty much on a daily basis everything that we find. All right, the training process is pretty simple. We have an iPad on site. We actually have 2 drones, 2 iPads on a car. It's pretty simple to use. We pretty much decide which locations we're going to be flying, and then from that point on, we can see the inventory is actually sitting within its corrected location.
And so that, you know, like we said, it's you've been able to kind of improve your inventory accuracy, but have you seen, for example, I know that this is where people typically go right away, right, with automation, but a reduction in cycle counters from before the drones till after?
So yes, I mean, we were actually able to still have the same number of team members that we currently have, same as before, right? But now we actually were able to increase our number of counts. Before using the drone, we were counting about 60,000 locations monthly, and now we're counting about 175,000 locations monthly just with the implementation of the drone, right?
Triple the amount.
Yes, it's triple to, I think it's 2.5 the amount, so that's actually perfect. And as I said before, we didn't need it to increase the staffing that we currently have. We are still remaining with the same 5 associates, but we were able to triple the amount of counting we are doing for the sitting it, right? Another benefit is smoother order processing. Every time Alex's team, they're going out to pick orders, they go to the location, they do find the item they're looking for, and then they're able to process the order with no delays, right? No delays as, oh, the item is missing from the location. That is actually very minimum.
Yeah, I think that's good to point out too, because I mean, our on-time shipping is, always close to 100% as well, which is another added benefit of having good inventory. And no delays for the end customer is a goal for Barrett, and obviously a goal of Steve's as well. So yeah, we haven't, I think a better way of looking at like how the drones have helped me out in the operation is, it hasn't necessarily decreased any staffing for me, but I've been able to almost triple the amount of counting we're doing. So when we find errors or, breaks in procedures, we're able to correct them right away. And we're just, the sheer amount of locations that we're able to cover and count is just helped boost our LP accuracy tremendously. So, and we actually, we, like Jesus said, we actually have 2 drones now. So the other, I think we're gathering like 5 or 6 of our Barrett facilities right now. But we upped it to 2 because we're doing so many that we need a replacement to swap it out when it runs low in power. So, but yeah, for me, it's been great.
And what about in terms of attracting new clients as a 3PL? Has it helped?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how many prospective customer tours that I've done. And we're walking through the warehouse and they'll see it always stops and attracts everyone. Oh, what is that? What do you guys use that for? So yeah, it's a great piece of technology to show prospective clients. And it's not just because it's like, cool, oh, it's a drone, it's flying around. It actually gets, really good results too. So, and just in terms of financial savings, it's tremendous. And at the end of the day, that's what, businesses are looking to save money. So, at the end of the day, it really does its job.
Steve, was having the Gather AI drone part of your evaluation?
So I have to say, they are pretty cool. And when I was doing the walkthrough and I saw the drones, I'm like, that's impressive. I was sort of skeptical that it would work, but I am no longer skeptical. Our inventory is spot on. It does a fabulous job.
Great. So anyway, please feel free to put questions in the Q&A, but I thought it might be interesting for everyone here. I'm just going to share my screen again. To see what these boxes look like in the warehouse. Alex or Jesus, do you want to share kind of? So this is these are 2 aisles of stadium goods the way Stadium Goods stores their shoes, you can see that multiple pairs of shoes are stored on in each location. I think Alex or Jesus, you want to talk?
Yeah.
kind of-
So I can jump in here and kind of explain that. So essentially what we do is we typically store 4 pairs per location. And then you'll see like the corrugate boxes on the bottom levels, those are for apparel. So apparel like socks, t-shirts, hoodies, stuff like that. So we normally store 4 pairs of sneaker per location, and then we have 8 locations per bay. Each aisle holds around 6, depending on how much apparel is in there, is 16,000 or so units. So you know, Jesus will go through his daily plan with his ICQA folks that work out on the floor, you know, which locations or sections of the area we're going to count that day, and then they'll bring the drone over with the cart, they'll program the mission. Then you can see, you know, you can see a little picture of the drone flying there, and what it does is we upload a snapshot of our WMS and at that current time, and then they run the mission, and the drone actually takes a photograph of our license plate and then compares that against our WMS and makes sure everything matches. If it matches, it moves on. If it reads an error, then it'll send that information back to the tablet, and then one of the ICQA folks will go and physically verify that location. Then I don't know, Jesus, you want to maybe touch on the QR codes there and just explain how the drone actually moves through the aisle?
Sure, yeah. So the QR codes that you guys see on the uprights, those are pretty much the X, Y, and Z coordinates, or those are essentially the coordinates the drone is looking at while flying the area. So we have to place the drone in front of one of these so it can localize itself, right? Once the drone knows where its location is currently sitting at, then it will start flying after we have selected the location that we want to fly, that we're looking to do a mission for. And then, like Alex mentioned, right, it will start flying, it will start going to the location we selected, takes photos. Then at the end, when everything is completed, it will come down, it will load all the photos. And then at this point, it will start making the comparison, right? Against the WMS that was uploaded from our side against what's physically out there. If it matches, everything is good. If not, then it will be, it's actually part of an exception. We'll have to validate that. Most of the instances, we're able to zoom in into the picture and we're able to tell, yes, this is a shoe that was missing, sitting within the location right next to it, or no, the shoe is not there. We have to go out there physically and validate, and we have to find the shoe, right? For some instances, I'm sorry. For some instances, we're also able to find the shoes, right? Just within the photo, let's say this shoe doesn't belong to location A, but because we also fly location B, we're able to find it.
Yes, I just wanted to share this as like Jesus and Alex said, each of these, and Steve described, each of these is an individual pair of shoes and labeled, placed on a pallet, and this is what the drone looks at. And like Jesus described, basically the picture's uploaded to the cloud and then compared with what's in the WMS, and it reports out exactly. And in this case, there was something missing. And so Jesus and his team can, figure out, is it somewhere else? Is it, where is it? Just by searching in our dashboard. But each of these is an individual pairs of shoes. So the drone is able to kind of see the entire palette and read all the labels on the palette.
Yeah, I think one thing to note too is like the dashboard is actually pretty user friendly. I'd say it's I mean, we've trained numerous ICQA associates on it, and also that we actually started out the program with Gather AI using this on full pallets, so it's like standard rack locations. We had to re-rack half of our facility, close to 100,000 square feet, while we were onboarding Stadium Goods, and we ended up having to redo the whole design of the QR codes with Gather, and they were able to, knock that out relatively quickly without disrupting operations at all. So it was pretty cool to be able to customize that and then get it up and running and live for stadium goods. And then, you know, now we actually use it more for stadium goods than we've seen more benefit with stadium goods than our other clients. So it's also good to know.
So there are a lot of questions about kind of how the drone works specifically. I'll just answer one, and then I think we have a short video that Jesus and I thought we could just kind of talk through that I think hoping will answer a lot of these questions. But there is a question about that the inventory be palletized, and for the product to work today, yes, the inventory has to be, the labels have to be front facing, and the product has to be in racks. So that is, yes, that was a good question. Keep them coming. But like I said, there's a bunch of questions about how it works, which I think maybe would be good for us to talk through. Again, well, we've talked a lot about this. So the drone scan the inventory, take pictures. The pictures are uploaded to the cloud, and then Jesus's team is able to see kind of on the dashboard pictures of the inventory. But I think it would be good to kind of show this video just to kind of share how it works and answer some of these questions. So this video is taken in the New Jersey facility. So you can see these are the stadium goods racks. You can see how much inventory there is, how tall the racks are. And so as Jesus described, the drone is taken to a location on a cart. Maybe Jesus, there is a question about how do you decide what to scan? In particular, someone asked the question, is it transactional to the previous day's picking or replacement? Or do you scan all locations? Can you talk a little bit about that, how you choose?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, essentially the way we're flying the drone is based on a location-based program. We're just doing it an hour at a time. We usually do 6 full bays daily, right? That's how we use a drone. The transactional accounts, there's one of the ways we actually count at Barrett, but for that one we still use actual associates to do those counts, right? We can potentially use the drones, yes. The only difficulty will be to start selecting multiple locations, random locations. That would be the only thing. But that's something that we're currently working with them, so they can do like an import folder, something like that we can just send the locations and they will auto select them.
Yeah, because one thing right now, what we're doing is we have a burst report, a snapshot of our WMS of every hour. So the drone associates are using that to import into Gather's system prior to running a mission. So one thing we're working on that's in progress right now is getting essentially getting our WMS inventory snapshot updated live in real time, so that we would be able to utilize more transactional counts with the drone. But since we have so many license plates, because every single piece is its own unique serial on LPN, it's a lot of data getting transmitted. So, but that is one thing that Jesus is working on with the Gather folks. So hopefully we should have that.
Yeah, so that's in the near future, yes.
Yeah. So so to answer the question about kind of how the drone's missions are decided, the operator, you can see here, basically inputs the mission into the dashboard, into the iPad. Like Jesus said, they have a schedule. We have some missions that people can do today based on data. Like, for example, we could do a supplier mission if you wanted to, if you were storing if you're a 3PL where goods from a supplier are spread throughout your facility, we can do supplier-based missions, and we're working on other kinds of missions like recent put away, etc. But bottom line is it's very configurable and based on your facility. And like Jesus described, we create a digital map of your facility. That's what shows up here on the iPad, and you can choose the pallets that you want to scan. So basically, the operator, like we said, chooses the pallets they want to scan, puts the drone on the ground, clicks take off, and the drone flies, taking pictures of pallet locations. You can see here if I stop it in the right place, you can see how it's reading those codes that Jesus talked about. That lets the drone know kind of where they are in terms of X, Y, Z coordinates, and then it's taking pictures of the different pallet locations. Anything else, Jesus, you think that's worth mentioning here?
Oh, no, you actually touched point on a very good thing, right? We also use this for palletized accounts. Most of the locations we have are single deep, but we also have a combination of double deeps. So I know Gutter is actually good at implementing different logics to make that work, right? It only reads the front pallet, but for the pallet in the back, you guys are able to work with that through different logics.
Yeah, so there was another really good question. The drone takes pictures of the pallet locations, like Jesus we've described. We read what's in the location, but we can also read empties. So it is possible to create an empty. For example, it is possible to create a mission where you can fly all your empty locations. I think we have customers that do that today. And then you could see in your dashboard any exceptions, anything that shows up that was supposed to be empty but isn't. I don't know if you guys, do you use this at all for your empties, Jesus? And
yeah, so we use it for empties, not for sitting goods. It's pretty hard to have an empty location, just up to 4.
We don't have too many empties.
Yeah. we store up to 4 pairs of shoes per location, so it's pretty hard to find an empty. But yeah, we do use it for the pallet racking customers that we also have here at the building. For
pallet racking, it's great to fly all your empties and see if you have product put away and not scanned to that location. It's definitely be useful for that.
So we can fly in the warehouse in aisles, 5'4" aisles, narrow aisles. So that I think, how narrow are your stadium goods aisles?
They are, I want to say 5 feet.
I was going to say 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5 or 5 feet wide. So
and we can fly in the dark, and we don't require Wi-Fi. So that's important in a lot of warehouses. Don't have good Wi-Fi in the warehouse. Oh, shoot. I'm not very good at driving this video, but I'll move forward here. What happens is, so you can see the drone scanning, taking pictures. Like we said, it's going to look for empty locations. It's going to look for matches and inventory exceptions. When it lands, the operator changes the battery and then can launch again and continue the mission. Here you can see the drones flying in a pallet location. Here there are multiple drones can fly at once, and one operator can fly multiple drones at once. And then the information gets sent to the dashboard, and we shared one short picture, but here you can see the dashboard where we report out any matches, any exceptions, and any empty locations. And you can actually see pictures of all the pallet locations from your dashboard. Do you guys use the pictures for SOP adherence or any of those kinds of?
We don't, not really. We'll just use that as, we'll nail down, if it was a put away error or something, we'll nail down to the user and then, review that with the person that had the error and do retraining. We use it more for investigative purposes, really. But yeah, we're not like printing those out or storing them, other than digitally at this time.
Okay, so you can see a cumulative view of your warehouse. Again, you can see empties, you can see matches, and you can see any exceptions, and then review you can review the results on your dashboard, and you can also search. So if you're looking for, like Jesus said, if you can't find an LPN, you can actually search in the dashboard to see the last place that it was found. So there's a question here, I think it's a good one for you, Jesus, about how do you operate the drone? So basically, it does require an operator to set the mission and then change the battery. So how do you guys think about operating the drone in a way that doesn't interfere with your?
It is actually pretty simple, like you were saying. Yes, the drone is currently sitting on a car. There is a bunch of batteries for the drone that we can use replacements, as well as a large battery that can charge all of them, right? Including the iPad as well as the other batteries. For sitting goods, this is a very complex account. There is 32 aisles. So there is a lot of traffic essentially, right? There's always a bunch of picking activity, picking, put away, people within the aisles and machines. So we always look for dead times essentially, right? Like during the morning, early in the morning, or during lunchtime. Lunchtime was actually the best option that we were able to see. We did a few time studies at the very beginning, see how many locations we were able to fly just within the lunchtime period, right? So that was actually the best option we had. We're currently utilizing that while flying the drone. And like I said before, right, we established the location days counting with the drone. So we're doing 6 full days a day. So we can finish an hour within less than a week, essentially.
Oh, that's great. Labor is such an issue for anyone who is managing a warehouse today. Probably everyone on this webinar. Can you talk to the benefits to your employees of having this solution?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I touched on before, we're able to just get so much more done with the same amount of folks, which is, great. We don't need to bring on additional people, to get more inventory done. But I think one of the really good benefits of it is able to take our associates that may have been just your regular warehouse associate level and train them on some of this new technology, and it creates a lot of interest, at least in my experience with it. Every time we have an opening, like Jesus said, we have 5 inventory associates that work in my building. So every time there's, someone transfers to a different department or leaves or whatever, there's always so much interest in learning about that department because of the drone, because everyone wants to see how it operates. So it really helps just with morale and retention of employees. And then, the other huge thing that I notice is if we have good inventory, the people that are working in the building and doing the work are happy because they're not, encountering locations not having product there or just issues constantly throughout the day. It's a smooth running operation, and that just helps with employee morale and keeping people upbeat and happy to work here. So sometimes warehouse work can get monotonous, so it's good when you can come in and you have a smooth day with no issues. So that's a huge benefit. And then just us finding errors quickly, like we're able to identify if there was a movement error or put away error and resolve it, I'd say 99% of the time the same day, which is huge. So then we don't have delays on orders and unhappy customers. So that's also a huge benefit.
So there's a question here, and we were going to talk about this anyway, about setup. Can you talk that through, Alex, what your experience was with setting up the warehouse?
Let me see, what was the question? Oh, how long did it take the map?
How long did it take to map?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to say that it took 2 weeks, Jesus, I think, for them to do the stadium goods.
2 weeks.
Around 2 weeks. And and like I said, they were able to do that during business hours without and keep in mind we have 17 order pickers going on all day long, pretty much for stadium goods. So there's a lot of traffic in the aisle. So the gather team was able to get that set up without us having to do late night setup or work all the weekends. So it's relatively easy. They'll work with Jesus and getting the layout of the warehouse and getting essentially a map of all of our locations, and then they'll send the crew in and they go in and label all the aisles. And I'd say it was probably 2, maybe 3 weeks max before we got everything labeled and up and running. So relatively quick.
And you had gather in the warehouse before you had stadium goods. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah, so we had it when we converted, like I said, we re-racked half of our facility into narrow aisle racking. So we had the whole building rack set up and mapped through gather for pallet racking. So when we got everything re-racked, then we had gather come back in and redo everything. So we only had to redo about half of the building, which was nice. So but overall it's been, so essentially we've done it twice. So I've had two experiences of mapping the warehouse, and both times it was a positive experience with little to no disruption in the operation, which keeps me happy. So
Good. So just to kind of talk through the installation process, the gather team comes in, we create a digital map of the warehouse, we do the labeling. So that's included as part of your, the installation process of the facility. And then we do training. We train people on site. Jesus and Alex, can you talk a little bit about the training that your team received? And
the initial training.
Yeah, the initial training is it is actually pretty simple to use. For the initial training, I mean, the engineer for Gather, they pretty much show us like every single thing, the drone, how to build it from the very beginning. Just open it from the box, right? Batteries, every single piece, they show us how to assemble it, how to do different things. And then they also show us how to review the missions, how to set a mission, how to select locations, how to change different aisles, how to put the batteries to charge. It was pretty much a huge extension training, but I mean, I'm mentioning multiple things, but it was pretty quick, right? Using the drone is pretty simple.
Yeah, and I mean, another good thing to note too is Gather's always really quick to help us if we have like a question or an issue or something. And when the crew is on site too, they do a bunch of test missions and stuff before they leave with us. I remember them bringing us, and we'll bring the inventory folks who are going to be operating it and Jesus out to the warehouse, and we ran test missions and made sure everything was working properly. And they did a really in-depth training on how to operate the actual iPad and use the drone and switch the battery and what to do if you encounter this situation, etc. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty user friendly.
Question for Steve. So we've talked a lot about the fact that with all the solutions that you put in place, you have higher inventory accuracy and on-time shipment has been 100%. How does that impact your business?
I mean, it's been huge for us. Historically, prior to Barrett, we had a lot of issues at the third-party warehouse. I would say probably a good 2% of the orders, they couldn't find the products. And then we had to substitute serial numbers. Now with Barrett, it's really a non-issue. We send them the orders and they ship fast. They have a very aggressive SLA, and they're able to achieve it day in and day out. During peak, when our volume more than quadruples, they have no issues. They can always find the product, and they get it out really fast.
Are you able to quantify that impact? It might be hard to
quantify. I mean, we had in the ballpark of like a 1.5 to 2% inventory shrink before, and now it's like a fraction of a fraction percent. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So there's a question about getting the WMS data to the drone before the mission. Jesus, do you want to, I think,
Sure.
you want to talk about that? Yeah.
So currently the way we're doing is we are getting an inventory file from our IT department. It's an automated email that comes to us as well as come to you. There is an email address for Goddard that we have to send the WMS file to. So with the help of our IT team, right, we are getting the automated report that gets sent to us directly as well as to the email address from Goddard. So we're getting the inventory report every hour, essentially. So that's how we upload our inventory into the Goddard system before we actually able to fly in a mission. It's pretty simple. All we have to do is just click on the gear icon and download the inventory CSV file every hour just before we do a mission.
So we have multiple customers do things different ways. We typically start with our customers with a CSV file, just because it's easier. It's easy to get started. Like Alex said, you can get started in 2 weeks. We don't have to worry about all the things that come with integration, security, etc. So CSV file gets sent. That's how we typically start, and then we do talk to our customers that want it. Kind of as you're using it, and as you can see the data and where you might need it, we start to talk about integration with the WMS. But we always start with a CSV file, so as not to kind of go so far into integration that it stops you from getting started and getting going. And then there's a question about how variances are identified and how often do you see a variance between the drone and in-person counting?
So how variances are verified? 2 ways, right? One of them, like as I mentioned before, you can quickly zoom in into the photos. You can do it using the iPad or within the web dashboard that Judy showed in the video. You can zoom in into the pictures. You can increase the lighting if you want as well. And based on the photo, you can tell this one doesn't belong here. Let me move it within the WMS to the correct location where it's currently sitting at, right? One way. The other one is in case we cannot verify based on the photo, right? We're gonna have to send an associate down to the location so they can verify physically, right? And that's how we resolve inventory issues. How often does it occur? It is based on your inventory accuracy for the billing, right? For sitting goods, as I mentioned before, we're currently 99.99 LP accuracy as well as a net and rows. For the other accounts within the billing, most of them are pallet accounts, pallet in, pallet out. So we're pretty much averaging about the same or 100%, right? So yeah, how often you see variances does base essentially on the billing.
So just to kind of show you the picture again, that describes kind of what Jesus is talking about. The drone takes a picture of a location, the Gather AI, the picture is analyzed in the cloud. You can see some of these results on the iPad without Wi-Fi, but when the images are uploaded to the cloud, they're analyzed, compared with what's in the WMS, and then that's where exceptions can be seen. So I think the person's question was more about, are you finding the drones more accurate than people? Do you ever count an aisle with a person and then count it with the drone to compare, or do you have any?
Okay.
Yes, definitely yes, right? The drone is taking photos and using that to compare against the WMS that we have imported. So yes, like we as human beings, we can make mistakes. A photo can speak for multiple words, so it will just do the comparison at the time, right? So yes, counting with a drone is more accurate than a human being counting.
Okay. I think those are all the questions. If we missed any of them, we will go through these and we're happy to respond after. Closing out, we can start with you, Steve. Any suggestions you have for retailers if they're thinking about this kind of a solution?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure many retailers are similar to Stadium Goods, where the accuracy of inventory is incredibly important, and it also enables Barrett to ship our orders extremely fast. So, I mean, this has been a game changer for Stadium Goods.
And thank you. And Alex and Jesus, any other comments or suggestions for warehouses looking at this kind of solution?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I definitely like it. It's, you know, like I mentioned, it helps with prospective clients. It helps with team morale. For me, having accurate inventory makes my job so much easier. So, I love it. So I would definitely highly recommend it to anybody. And it's very customizable. So, you know, it can do different types of racking, different type of product, you know, and the Gather team will work with you on, you know, specializing it to whatever need you have at your business. So for me, it's great.
Jesus, any last
Myself, like I was speaking to Alex yesterday, at Barrett, safety comes first, but inventory control comes second. So the journey actually makes it simpler, way simpler, and it's actually cool to use, right?
Yeah.
People like to use it, so
It's fun.
yes,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So that's a great point, which we didn't cover, was safety. Can you talk about the safety benefits?
Sure, yeah. Just to cover safety real quick, we use cones while operating the drone. We try to block the aisle. For the specific aisle locations that we're going to be flying, we just put a cone, block the aisle. We also inform the operators, all of them are aware that they see a cone, they kind of go into the area because the drone is flying. The cone has a specific color as well, right? So just to prevent any safety issues, any safety potential issues that can occur while flying the drone.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for participating in the webinar, and thank everyone in the audience for listening. We will be posting the webinar on the Gather AI website, and Chelsea and the MHI team will be sending out the link. Also, we're happy to answer any questions. You can reach out to me, Jesus, or Alex if you want to learn any more. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.